Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to this story that has plot synopsis and character bio. So, we are looking at Classic X-Men number 12 from 1987. Wonderful cover, an homage to X-Men number 1, as the new X-Men are about to take on Magneto. Art Adams did this cover. Absolutely wonderful. This reprints X-Men 104 with supplemental material, and here's the original cover by Dave Cockrum, also homaging X-Men number 1. So I prefer the classic X-Men because of the supplemental material. Great cover, or great frontispiece here by Art Adams showing Magneto. Very cool. It is too bad that Art Adams is not able to do interiors very often due to his speed. And covers are nice, but it would really be nice to see him do interiors. So, a brief explanation. I do this every single video. Classic X-Men is preferred to me to do the early X-Men stories, particularly because of the supplemental material. There's just so much more context that is given, and I think that it makes it better for the overall story, and that's what we're going for. So Chris Claremont really had the chance to go back and add stuff to give it a more rounded story. So, all right. So the title is The Gentleman's Name is Magneto. We're in Stornoway in the Outer Hebrides. Look that up on Google. 50 miles off the northwest coast of Scotland. It's a crisp, clear Monday morning, and right off the bat, things are going wrong with a vengeance. By the way, Tom Orzechowski is still not the letterer. Once Orzechowski comes, the X-Men really take on a more polished look. John Byrne helps too, but Orzechowski really continues on to become the one of the best letterers in the business. He's my second favorite, with John Workman Jr. being my favorite. But Orzechowski's lettering is unmistakable. There's a couple letterers that when you look at their stuff, you're like, yep, I know exactly who lettered this, and Orzechowski's one of them. So, all right, so this guy's here. You heard me, Mick. You're not taking my hovercraft out of this harbor, and that's final. And he's like, you can't do this, MacWither. We had a signed agreement. You've been paid. And Nightcrawler is, good morning. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? And this guy's, didn't answer the beastie. Just keep your eyes in front and just keep walking. And so they're, of course, looking at the pointy teeth and the tail because he looks like a demon. And so, my agreement was with Moira McTaggart, not a bunch of costume freak. As for your money, consider it forfeit as penalty for having me hovercraft with fraudulent reservation. Now I'll see you lot off my dock. And Colossus is like, comrade, since you intend to keep our money, it seems fair that we keep your hovercraft. And leaves them hanging, and there's the money coming off as they take off. So suddenly you see that it's being attacked, but because of the cover, and you knew that so you know exactly who it is. It is no surprise. So we know that they're being attacked by Magneto. This is a new page that is added. And so we got Colossus here. What is happening? It is as everything metal aboard the hovercraft is attacking us, and of course he turns into metal. The spinning blades towards me. Only my armored fur can save me, but what will happen when I become metal? Will I be torn apart like our vessel? Let him be praised. I'm all right. And then he stops as he falls. And then we have Storm here. I've summoned the wind. Goddess, granite is enough to sweep me clear off this wreckage. Once I have sufficient altitude, I can set about rescuing my teammates. Bright lady, I am held fast, but a bolt of lightning should blast me free. And it doesn't work. I cannot unleash the charge. The power remains locked inside my body, backflaring, and she screams in pain. So Wolverine goes to save her. Only seconds to act, or Storm's fish food. After the jolt she took, I may already be too late. So far, so good. I don't need my enhanced senses to tell me she's alive. But she's totally out of it. I'm going to need a big breath, enough for both of us. Water's only a few degrees above freezing. Our mutant physiology makes us harder than normal folks, but we won't last forever. Storm's wrapped in heavy gauge steel. Big flaming deal. My claws are adamantium, strongest metal known. Honed sharp enough to cut through anything. She'll drown before we reach the surface unless I share the breath I grabbed before we went under. Hope this is as much fun for you, sweets, as it is for me. So again, this Wolverine during this era is not quite what we're used to. So again, this is all supplemental material. Banshee grabs Nightcrawler, and then they're heading by this incredibly huge wave. And of course they notice here that he tried to teleport, but some force inhibited me. And then they said perhaps the same one that smashed our hovercraft. And then they noticed the huge wave there. And again, this is still part of the supplemental material. So these are the X-Men. There's been some changes in my absence. This is more international and cosmopolitan team than the original, more varied abilities, and I suspect considerably more raw powers. A most credible response to my opening gambit. They appear to know their business. You've taught these students well, Charles. I'm glad that will make my victory all the sweeter. Now I know what to expect. Having seen their powers and skills in action, I'll know how to deal with them. I could destroy the X-Men with ease. They'd never know what hit them, but I want them to know. I want this to be personal. I want it to hurt. Xavier, you pathetic, sanctimonious fool, clinging to mementos of the past as though they were talismans to ward off evil. Or was it to remind you of the days when I was weak, a tool you sought to shape as to your will as you do the X-Men? Did you think I'd never divine the truth that you tried to influence me with your accursed telepathic powers? Did you hope to succeed here and now while I was your helpless prisoners? Where you failed then, will you never understand? I am the only hope of mutantkind's salvation. The governments of the world cannot be trusted. I learned that the hard way. Their promises and guarantees are merely words, as easily forgotten as spoken. To put our faith in them, in the goodwill of humanity, is to guarantee our annihilation. I have lived through one Holocaust. I believe they have. I don't know if they have caused him, like, he can't age or whatever, but I think it is still canon that he was part of the Holocaust. Magneto is Jewish, so the world will be brought to my heel. Our race guaranteed survival and prosperity for all time, and all who oppose me, especially traitors such as yourself and your brats, will receive the fate they so richly deserve. So gives us more introspective on Magneto's hatred toward Xavier and the X-Men. So So this is where the original comic book went from that explosion to this. So all those pages Chris Claremont added to give it a little bit more um I don't know, to fill, not just to fill time, but give it more of a well-rounded story. So when the hovercraft got destroyed, it went then straight to this. So those supplemental pages were not there. So all right. So Banshee's asking how everyone's doing, and of course, Cold and Wet says Nightcrawler, how how kind of you to ask, but why is it every time we write something mechanical it crashes? Dumb luck, I guess, Elfie, says Wolverine. I love how his ears or his in his mask. Did you ever get the feeling that someone's got it in for us? Yes, Wolverine, the way the hovercraft exploded. It didn't explode, Nightcrawler. Everything metal came alive. The ship literally tore itself to pieces. And so, um, Colossus thinks an attack then, perhaps another fight to the death. Life was so much simpler and safer in the Ust-Ordiniski collective. Yet I would not give up friends like these four. And then he sees that building. Is that Moira McTaggart's laboratory? Gloria, I never dreamed that it would be so big. And here's Storm taking water off her boot. So, Colossus is going to go, but he is repelled. And so none of them can get through. There's a field in there. And then they're hit again. And suddenly a piece of the ground tears off. They're pretty liberal with Magneto's powers. They have him do some stuff that I don't think the magnetism, and I know magnetism is one of the fundamental rules, but they still always have Magneto doing things that I'm like, I don't think. As a kid, what the heck did I know? But as an adult, you start to go, I think they're being a little liberal with his powers. So, so Banshee says, set yourselves, X-Men, so they can prepare for what's coming. And cut loose. So it looks like Banshee's in charge. And so, Nightcrawler, we did it. Only just, Nightcrawler. If we'd been going a bit faster, or if these walls been a bit thicker, I'm thinking there's a terribly familiar pattern to these attacks, but the only person with that power to pull them off is suddenly that door says it's glowing. Run for it, all of you, get to cover before the door explodes. And so, which it does. And of course, we get a great pose of Magneto. Greetings, X-Men. I bid you welcome to the site of your final battleground. You're going to die here, mutants, and not all your power nor your skills can save you from my wrath. Look at me, X-Men, for I am your oldest, deadliest foe, the master of the legions of evil, mutants, and soon to be lord of all the world. I never think, evil, legions of evil. I don't think he views himself as evil. So, because he thinks he's doing the right thing. So why would he say he's in the legions of evils? I understand why everybody else would consider him a villain, but why he himself would. And look, David Cockrum actually signed this piece. He liked it so much, and I do like it. I am Magneto. Great splash page. I love everything about this. Very cool. Probably added a little too much shadow, but other than that, I think this page just looks beautiful. So early on, I like early Dave Cockrum more than I like late period Dave Cockrum. So, and so we can see the X-Men's Blackbird has arrived, And so Cyclops says, Mrs. McTaggart, we've arrived. There's not a sign of the hovercraft in the vein. The X-Men are late. I only hope they haven't run into trouble. And Moira says, you sound angry. I am. I've been with the professor with Professor Xavier since the beginning, and this is the first I've heard of your mutant research center. I've seen secrecy before, lady, but this, a complex designed to cage the most dangerous mutants in existence. And here's Unus from one of the early X-Men adventures. And perhaps cure their hatred for humanity. It is my life's work, Scott, begun in happier days when Charles and I were students together. Follow me, the main lab's through here. Okay, Moira, I just hope none of your guests have busted for you. Of course they haven't, Cyclops. Look, someone's lying on the shadows. Jamie. It's Jamie Madrox. He's coming around. Easy, lad. Take it easy. This is the Multiple Man, who, of course, was in that great Peter David run. But that's a long way off before I get to that. That X Factor run with Jamie Madrox is great. But that takes place in the 2000s, and so you can see where I am at. So I hope to get to it eventually. But all right. So she goes, "What happened to you?" And she's like, "Moira, oh no, what have you done? If you brought the X-Men here, you've murdered them." So he kind of tells him what happened here. Let me explain. I was making my morning rounds when I got ambushed by Havoc, Polaris, and some clown named Eric the Red. Somehow they got past all the automatic security systems. They went straight for the cell we've had Magneto in ever since he'd been turned into a baby. Eric sounded pressed for a time, almost scared. He gestured some sort of ray, zapping out of his hands toward the baby. In seconds, Magneto was grown again. They talked all day, Eric suggesting an alliance against the X-Men, a two-pronged attack. Magneto was furious, humiliated at being a baby in Xavier's hand. He wanted vengeance. No, Magneto, a grown man and probably at the peak of his powers. Moira, get Jamie out to the jet and be ready to take off on a moment's notice. And so Moira's like, but Scott, the X-Men have beaten Magneto before. Surely you can do it again. The old X-Men could, Moira, but Magneto was a baby when the new team was formed. Professor Xavier and I never figured on facing him again, so we never trained the new X-Men to fight him. They're good kids, Moira, but against Magneto, they haven't a prayer. They're good kids. They're older than him. So, and so here we are, Magneto and the new X-Men fighting for the first time. Now, the funny thing is, during this time, Magneto was actually a member. He was the headmaster of Xavier's school. So he had done his little face turn before he went back to a heel turn. These characters, they just, heel to face, heel to face. So, and so, Wolverine is, of course, most vulnerable to Magneto because he's made out of his skeleton's made out of metal, and of course Colossus is also made out of metal. So Wolverine and Colossus basically don't work against Magneto. So Magneto says, "This is magnificent. Never have I felt so strong, so sure of my powers. It's as if all my defeats never happened. I stand reborn, deadlier than ever." Storm realizes that he's toying with them and testing their limits. Very well. If he wants a test, then Storm will give him one by unleashing the power of a hurricane. And Magneto says, "Most impressive, Storm, but a wasted effort. I can stand all you can throw at me and more, for I am Magneto, and my power is supreme." No, Magneto set up an interference shield. He's hurling my lightning bolts back at me. I didn't bother to search physics and stuff, and I know it's a comic book, so it isn't. But I don't think he can do that. but magnetism is quite strong. Uh, Maybe. So, um, he decides he doesn't know how he can face off against Magneto. He throws that, but of course it doesn't work because again, Magneto can control metals. It hurls at him. So, um, Nightcrawler. Um, well, first of all, Colossus hits hard. He just outside, so you can see that it hit him. That wreckage is heading straight at him, so he teleports. But of course, Magneto knew that. Says here, nice try, but the trick won't work against someone who can sense disruptions along the magnetic lines of the Force. Okay. And worse, sense your destination almost before you do. And so he lands, and there he is. We're not done yet, Magneto. Not so long as the X-Men lives. You cannot harm me, Banshee, but I can smash you whenever I please. And so Banshee goes and uses his sonic powers, his sonic scream. And so it smashes the floor. But Magneto floats. That's always been established. So, and he gets up and throws stuff at him. But Banshee was ready and uses his scream to hurl the stuff away. Here's the thing: I'm not a big Banshee guy, but it's all right. I really prefer it once he leaves the X-Men. I think the X-Men do get better, but I'm like, I don't know, it's screaming. Okay, you know, I. It just Banshee is not one of my favorites. So, all right, excellent Banshee. Of all the new X-Men, you're the only one worth fighting, even though you fight for a lost cause. Don't bet on that, Mister," says Banshee. "Why not, my friend? I've won." And you can see he's hit from behind, or he's hit. "It was simple matter to pull a ferrous particles from the wreckage from the very air and fuse them to your body. Where your bravado Where's your bravado now, Banshee? Sealed within your form-fitting coffin. Your air is gone. In a few moments, your life will be gone as well. Man for man, they were stronger than the old X-Men, yet I've beaten them all. Not all, Butcher. You haven't beaten Cyclops." And he hits him. You caught me by surprise. I was careless, overconfidence. I got my shields up barely in time to deflect his blast. He's down, stunned for all the good that does me. I'm hitting him full strength, but I'm not getting through his shield. There's not much time left. He's already starting to gather his wits, pull himself together. And with Eric the Red involved, I've a hunch there's more at stake here than just the X-Men versus Magneto. And so he's running toward Nightcrawler. Cyclops says, "I must be getting old. I should have seen the pattern the moment Banshee told me Eric was behind the ambush at Cassidy Keep. If this pattern means that what I think it does, Professor Xavier is in a lot more danger than we are." And so, "Nightcrawler, find the others and head for the landing pad behind the lab. Move it, mister. We've no time to waste." Then he frees Banshee, using his beam. "Cyclops," Nightcrawler said, "we're ordered to the X-plane. Aren't we attacking Magneto?" "No." And they're like, "What are you saying, lad?" "As soon as we find Colossus, we're pulling out of the pulling out and heading for New York." Of course, Wolverine's like, "The blazes, we are above. This fight ain't over yet." And then Cyclops is like, "It is as far as we're concerned." And Wolverine's like, "Says who? The X-Men team leader, Buster. Now do as I say, or so help me, I'll blast you down and carry you out." And so, "Okay, Summer, this round goes to you. But from now on, Bob, all bets are off." And so, looks like that bug-eyed broad's busted loose. She was from X-Men 96, where Thunderbird was tragically killed. Or is it 97? I think it was 97. But she was in that one too. Wolverine gave an awfully easily back there. I almost wish I had tried to slug things out. So they grab Peter. And so Colossus is like, when do we attack Magneto? So like, we don't. We're getting out of here. And so things clicked into place when Jamie told me Eric the Red had ambushed him. Don't you see? The first Eric tried to kill Professor X at Kennedy Airport when he used Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy as catspot to try to lure Xavier in a death trap at Cassidy Keep. But now Magneto's back, stronger than ever, and all the X-Men are kept busy fighting him, leaving Professor Xavier unprotected. That's why we're heading home, because I think Eric's after the Professor, and we've got to stop, and we've got to be there to stop him. Hey, Summers, you can justify this till the day you die, but it won't change the fact that you made us run. You turned the X-Men into cowards, bub, and that's something the Wolverine will never forgive. He'll get over it. They're gone. I fought the X-Men, beat them all, and they've run away, leaving Magneto triumphant. And so he leaves then, never noticing as behind him a fine and private horror stirs and slowly becomes awake. Mutant X, no admittance. But that's a story for another time, and it's a good one, so we will definitely be covering that. So, and so we're now at the Starjammer ship. It's starting, Chad. The 9 stars are moving into alignment. Are you afraid, Christopher? Chad, if the Emperor goes through his plan, if the legends are true, it'll be the end of everything. And then in another area, and in this little bug ship above the Earth. I've reached the Earth, but my fuel is almost gone. There's barely enough for planetfall, and yet I must make it if the Emperor, my brother's mad, is to be stopped. Wait, photon torpedoes bracketing me, an Imperial cruiser, and it's shooting to kill. And then again, we got Jean Grey's mom and dad. And so they're visiting there, and of course we got Eric the Red, Havoc, and Polaris. Look at them so peacefully as they enjoy their last moments left in their pitiful lives. Even if the X-Men arrive in time, it will do them no good. The die is cast, my final player about to make his entrance. And when he does, the princess will be mine, and Charles Xavier will be no more. Next issue, the Phoenix Unleashed. So, now remember, we have one more story. There is supplemental material, so we're going to get a little bit of exposition on Magneto. So, we're in Paris here. And here, the lettering, by the way, is Tom Orzechowski. And Magneto is sleeping on this bed. And so, the title of this story is A Fire in the Night. Chris Claremont writes a lot, and he's very verbose. He's basically having a nightmare. We're getting exposition in him. Feel free to go into that Marvel fan site wiki page. Of course, Magneto's remembering his time as Auschwitz and escaping with this woman. And so, still, him and that woman together, they'll find us. I doubt it. They'll be too busy trying to save their own skin to waste much effort on us. They'll probably figure we'll freeze or to death or starve. And of course, she says, and they're right. I'm so cold even sitting close to the fire, and I couldn't stomach the food you found. He goes, I'll find more. What's the point? My family, everyone I know, they all died in the gas chambers except for me. I don't want to be alone. I want to go with them. You can't give up, Magda. You can't give the Nazis that victory. We live, you and I. That's important. That means something. That matters. I'm afraid. I'll protect you for now and always, as I did inside the camp. And so we're getting really cool origin that humanizes Magneto, because let me tell you, I too probably would have turned into a villain after this. So they made it. Um, you know, they get married. They have a daughter. So, and they arrive in a new city, in a Ukrainian city of Vinista. So he's gonna go find a job, and she's like, the way they look at us, and he says, of course, it's just because we're strangers. By the way, the nose, I love how he draws women noses, and I try when I do my art, and I work. This is I emulate the way I never could get women's noses done properly. So I was like, well, why even try? So I just do the minimum. So he finds a job, but it's not enough. This guy is, of course, not paying him, and so he uses his power, scares him, and he gets more money there. So that's gonna come back to uh that's gonna come. So there's fire in the inn, and his family's inside, and he's gonna go save them, and he saves the wife, and she's shocked by his power, and he's about to go get her, but of course the people, um the police arrive to get him for extortion, and he's not able to save his daughter as they beat him. And here's the guy that he had thrown the crowbar, and he's he he's the one that basically set this all up. So, too bad, comrade. I offered you an honest wage for an honest day's work, but you went and got greedy. Now you pay the price. You lying. That scream. My child's done no harm. I beg you, for the love of heaven, somebody, please help me. Waste of breath, comrade. Nobody will risk life or freedom for you, for an obvious enemy of the state. And here comes the daughter, who should scream. Condolences, comrade, for your tragic loss, but you've only yourself to blame. And he looks with that shock, and he's like, no. I mean, he ends up killing everybody. So I'm just gonna tell you, I don't friggin' blame him, and I would probably be a supervillain too. So, a very humanizing aspect that you were probably unaware in Magneto's origin. Whether or not this has been reconned, I have no idea. I haven't been reading the X-Men in a long, long, long time. It's just too confusing. And so hopefully it is. This is the X-Men time frame that I love. I even stuck with it after Chris Claremont left, but that's when it started to become a mess. I went back when Grant Morrison took over, but then after he left, the X-Men are a mess. It is too confusing. It is too it's too much. So I quit X-Men. I have not read X-Men in probably 15 years or more. Way more. Probably since 25 years. So I have not read X-Men in about 25 years. So of course the wife is just cannot believe what she's seen, and she's like, "You're not human. and she's like, "You're a monster." And this is the funny thing is, and I get it. They killed his daughter, her daughter. What the hell do you think he's gonna do? What she should be very happy. So, um, he wakes up then, and there's a fire, and sees these two people, and he's like, "What do I care? They're merely human." And he closes the window, but you knew there was gonna be afraid, or not afraid. Sorry, I was looking at this part. You knew he wasn't gonna just let things go. That wouldn't be a thing. So Magneto saves them and says, "Tell the world how your family was saved by Magneto. Magneto the terrorist. Magneto the supervillain. Magneto the mutant. Remember me always. I could have let them perish, but I chose life." And the guy's like, "You may be all those things you said and more, but first and foremost, you have proved yourself a man." So, just absolutely a gut wrenching, great short story by Claremont. And then, of course, we get the back cover by John Bolton. I think this story was great. I think that if you've never read the classic X-Men, and all you know is the X-Men just from actually reading the issues without all the supplemental material, I hope you go back and find these issues. I think most of them are pretty affordable. I rebought classic X-Men #1 a few years ago, and I got it for like $5. Um, because I had mine was tethered to pieces. I tell you. So, um, it's so good, and Chris Claremont really adds such great backstory to everybody. So, classic X-Men #12, Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and John Bolton. Like and subscribe, and I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.